All right, so our fourth and final one, if you will, in this Love Life series, which will also be, like I said, comprised into one video you will see on the 22nd of December. We're going to talk about Nicole. That's right, Nicole The Lynx. Now, you might be asking yourself, why Nicole? Why is she on this list? Well, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting, and I've talked about this before in previous videos. But Nicole basically is, a character that, of course, originally, started as an AI handheld computer in the animated series, as well as, basically began as a handheld computer through different variations, if you will, in the comics before getting her established iconic AI computer handheld in the comic later on. Now, what's interesting, though, is there was a issue. I don't know what issue it was. I think it was like in the 150s or something like that. It was a little after the Line of Succession story arc. I think it was a little after that somebody had come on board. A new artist and I think a new writer had come on board, gave this story arc, or this little short story called Stargazing, a little bit of an anime look, if you will, for Sally. And the reason it was given an anime look was because it was introducing us to Nicole's lynx form for the first time. That's right, Nicole's lynx form debuted in Stargazing. And basically, it was just a temporary deal that Nicole, in story, had basically mentioned that she had been working on for a while. It was a program that she had been working on herself to try to give herself a new body, or give herself a body for the first time officially. And the reason for this is it goes back to a backup story to where, thanks to a electric shock, if you will, caused both her and Sally to switch bodies. That's right. Sally in that story had switched bodies with Nicole. So Sally ended up becoming the portable AI computer, and Nicole took over her body. And what was interesting about Sally being in the AI computer is you could tell she was upset about it, but also taking on a little bit of the elements of being in the computer. Like, she was able to think a little faster, say things that normally she wouldn't say, techno-babble-wise, if you will. And Nicole was more like in just embracing this new atmosphere, like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, and everything. She couldn't believe it. And then when she saw, Sonic, when she was in Sally's body, she was wondering what was going on, what was this feeling she was having being around Sonic. But then that all was but basically that was temporary, because, she was, the body switch was only a temporary deal, because she ended up going back to her AI deal, and Sally was back in her body. And Nicole basically told Sonic, when Sonic was wondering what was going on, Nicole kind of brushed it off and then joked around. Did anybody tell you look good for a hedgehog or something like that, or you're good looking for a hedgehog, which kind of surprised Sonic. And again, it's basically, and again, the story was that Sally, temporarily being in Nicole's body, was, not happy about it, but taking on some of the traits of thinking fast and talking certain, techno babbles she wouldn't normally do, and Nicole feeling the way she did, getting these emotions and stuff. Being in Sally's body. And that is what basically led to the Stargazing story that we got. Basically, it was a continuation of that, where Nicole now wanted to know what it was like to have her own body. And so ever since that moment, she had been working on a program to give herself a body outside of the portable handheld that she was normally a part of. And this would be something that would be on and off, to where basically, as the story would go on, Nicole would basically develop the program a little stronger and more efficient, to where, as long as she was like in a certain area, like a lab or a computer room, she can exist outside of the portable. but also mainly exist inside computer elements. Like there's an issue where Sonic and where Sonic and Shadow get digitized to go into this damaged disc that Shadow has because he wants to know the truth about his past finally, and Nicole is in there with them, and Sonic is like completely in shock, like, holy smoke, Nicole, is that you? And she kind of shyly explains that, oh yeah, it's me, I've been working on this, and Sonic's like, oh cool, I like it, I like the look, he's kind of flirting with her, and her being a little bashful, like, she's like, thank you and everything, until Shadow has to get their attention again. The guy goes like, hey guys, can we tail that for later, we got stuff to do. But yeah, she, in continuity had been building up the body for a while, in and out of the computer, if you will, but only in certain areas where she could sustain it outside. But then we get to the 175 to 177 arc, where we see the destruction of Knothole, and Nicole decides, you know what? I have no choice. I was waiting on this, but I'm going to do it now. She executes a plan that, not only helps Sonic and Knuckles and Amy and Tails save everybody from the egg grapes in which they were teleported into, but also the fact that, she's able to help teleport them away, because what she does is, thanks to Tails, she hacks into Eggman's systems, and just when it makes it look like Eggman's going to teleport all of them, including Sonic, into the egg grapes, what she actually does is she causes Eggman to teleport them into the newly rebuilt new Mobotropolis, which she used the nanites from one of the previous stories to basically build. Basically, she was building new Mobotropolis over the ruins of what was known as, I think, Megalopolis or something. I can't really recall. But basically, it was where some nanites were, and she took the leftover nanites, and she was able to build and reconstruct a new Mobotropolis city for everybody to live in, for everybody to live in and be safe in, and it would allow her to maintain her lynx form in the on the outside. Basically, having the nanites around in the city would allow her to maintain her lynx form outside in the real world. Like, she'd be able to walk about, not worry about having just to stay in a computer or have her face on a computer screen and stuff like that. So, that was neat to see, because that was like another step in the evolution of her character. It was another step in the evolution of how she was being presented and stuff. Now, on top of that, basically, the evolution of her character would continue, because we would start to see her even outside of that. As long as, she had some nanites and stuff to help her sustain the form, we would see it. We would see her, continue being there. And her relationship with Sally would still be close. Sally would defend her, especially when we got towards the post-Iron Dominion thing and people were unsure about, whether or not they could trust her. She would be her defense and everything. And then, of course, you have the moment where Sally sacrifices herself and Nicole is there, and feeling guilty over what happened, thinking she could have done more. Now, what's interesting is all that was part of the pre-soft reboot, the pre-reboot, if you will. A lot of that I mentioned was part of the pre-reboot. And it wouldn't be until the post-soft reboot, 252 and onwards, that we would really start seeing a connection between the two. Now, Nicole would play a key role in this. Basically, she was going to be the Deus Ex Machina to the whole situation. Like, she would be the one, as I pretty much said in one of my reviews of it and monthly opinion videos, she would be the one that would be the key of restoring everybody's memories. She would be the one. Because apparently Sonic was at the epicenter of it, so he and Eggman kept the memories, And Nicole, for some odd reason, was also unaffected in a sense about what happened. Because, when Nagus, tries to confront her about something, like, he's wondering what's been going on, like there was some kind of strange energy surge. What happens is when he touches her, he sees the previous world. And he's like, and it frightens him to the point that he escapes. He runs away, like he can't believe what he's seeing. And it's right there where you realize Nicole's going to play a vital role here, and that vital role is the fact that she too, like Sonic and Eggman, somehow became unaffected. She became very unaffected by it, by the supergenesis way to restore the worlds as they were. So she became unaffected. But she, like I said, she played a key role in everybody getting the memories back. Like anybody that would touch her, boom, memories of the previous world would show up. And it would shock them. Like it happened to Tails, it happened to Rotor, it happened to Antoine, it happened to Bunny, and then of course it happened to Sally and Amy. And Sally's is the one that really affected, I think, all the characters, at once. I mean, like they remembered, and everything, but Sally was the one that was hit the most by it. And it wouldn't be until, like, one of the following issues where Sally is, she's left on the ship, on the Freedom Storm, or whatever it's called, the Freedom Ship, if you will. And she's being very conflicted about what to plan out. And she's putting all this pressure on her and everything, on herself. And it's Nicole that's like, what's wrong with you? What's going on? And Sally basically explains things to her and Cream, who's also there. She has to explain that she has to make up for what she did as Mecha Sally. That because of her, a lot of lives were ruined and everything. And Nicole basically has to shut her down right there and say, whoa, stop. That wasn't you. Wake up. That wasn't you. That was a different lifetime now. Now it's time to focus here. You need to be the Sally that encouraged Dulcie and Loop. That's who you need to be. And that's enough, basically, the encouraging words from Nicole to basically snap Sally out of the fact that, hey, what you did in that previous world, in that previous life, is a non-factor now. You need to focus on what you did in this world. And again, that's enough to wake Sally up. And she's like, you're right, I need to do this. You're right. And it established that strong connection to where Nicole had to snap her out of it. She had to snap her out of it and all that. And ever since then, the friendship between the two has been very close-knit. Very close-knit. And the way, basically, it was presented, mostly, was, thoroughly, I should say, was in Spark of Life. When, it's centered on Nicole's origins. It was a 4-part deal on Sonic Universe. But it really kind of hammered home the fact that there was something more between Sally and Nicole than was being led on. And like I said, Ian Flynn, during an interview, said that he was surprised of how blatantly they got away with it. Like, just the way things were presented, they were surprised how blatant it was of how they were displaying this close affectionateness, between Sally and Nicole. Unlike unlike the other previous stories, I guess pre-reboot or something like that. But yeah, stories like Spark of Life and some of the main stories as well, kind of really focused on the fact that the friendship between the two was more than just a friendship, and Spark of Life really drove that home. It really did. But yeah, Nicole, for some odd reason, pre-reboot, post-reboot, or pre-soft reboot, post-soft reboot, is considered a love interest of Sally's because of the way things were presented. And a lot of fans, looking back at the post-soft reboot issues and even some of the pre-ones, are like, yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I can see exactly what he's talking about. Because it is kind of like right there in front of you. You just don't really realize it until it's too late, if you catch my drift. It's like you don't see it or realize it till it's like too late or until somebody points it out to you. But yeah, Nicole obviously, was presented along with Sally in the new post-soft reboot retcon as LGBTQ bisexual. And obviously the friendship between the two was something more. It was something more. It's just, they didn't, but here's the thing. Ian Flynn didn't get a chance to explore that because unfortunately the comic was canceled. The partnership between Archie and Sega ended. Now, had they just carried on the stories to the IDW book instead of doing something completely new, then yeah, I think he probably would have continued it. I think he would have done it. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what they plan to do in the future if they decide to go that direction. I mean, we have Archie Sonic Online if they want to try to do it themselves, but still, you know, with Spark of Life and some of the moments in pre-soft reboot issues and post-soft reboot issues, you know, obviously showed that there was something more between Sally and Nicole, more so in the post-soft reboot issues than just a friendship. And that was, it was a surprise, and that was a huge surprise. I will admit that. It was a huge, huge surprise. But anyway, though, guys, that's going to do it for Nicole. And we have a bonus. That's right. It's not a love life, but it's a bonus on Sally's love life.